While I am taking the session, please remember to ask me then and there so that all your doubts are absolutely crystal clear. You don't have anything lagging or something that you have not understood. All right. So let's begin with today's intro continuation, that is with the writing section. Now, when I talk about the writing section, this is one part where students also face difficulty and professionals also face difficulty. Let me tell you, why is it difficult? First thing, writing is difficult because trust me, നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന ടാസ്ക് എന്തായാലും നമ്മൾ എഴുതി കൊടുക്കുവാണ്. So if I say it in an Indian context, ഒരു കാര്യം നമ്മൾ എഴുതി കൊടുത്തേക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ it is considered to be a much valid or a legal contract that you are ushering or you're submitting to a person. So writing la ulla ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്, what is it? You are looked down if you have grammar errors. You are not able to score marks if you have not understood the question and you're just writing something about what they have mentioned. Now, all those things come as a confusion in writing. Now, most of you who have joined me in this session, I believe that not many of you have troubles in terms of grammar, much troubles in terms of grammar. But remember, even in writing, just like I said, the smallest argument, an introduction that you write, if you have, you're supposed to write has, and if you have written have, it is easily looked upon and the error is marked. So writing, you need to be sure that you are good with your grammar. It is very, very important. Another thing about writing section is you need to know what is the structure for the task that you are attempting. Now, when it comes to academic candidates, again, writing section is 60 minutes. Just like reading, it is a 1-hour test that you have to give. Now, the writing section for academic candidates is in 2 parts. The task 1 is about report writing. You have to write 1 report. What is this report? It is basically a report that you have to write looking at a bar graph, looking at a pie chart, looking at a table, looking at a diagram, a process. The image is given, the data is given. Based on that, you have to write a report. Report also has a very valid structure. Justice would be teaching you, would be taking you through it from A to Z on that. Another important funda that comes in writing is task 2 for academic candidates is essay. Task 2 for general candidates is also essay. So task 2 remains the same for writing for both academic and general candidates, but task 1 is different. Like I said, academic students are supposed to write a report, all right? And they are supposed to write for task 2, they are supposed to write 1 essay. What happens in terms of a general candidate? General candidate has to write, task 1 is actually a letter. When I say a letter, you need to know that a letter is, again, formal letters, informal letters, semi-formal letters. ഇതൊക്കെ എല്ലാവരും പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടാവും സ്കൂൾ ഡേയ്സിൽ. ഫോർമൽ ലെറ്റേഴ്സ് വെർ യു ആർ സപ്പോസ് ടു റൈറ്റ് ഫ്രം അഡ്രസ് ടു അഡ്രസ്. അങ്ങനത്തെ വലിയ ചടങ്ങൊന്നും ഇല്ല ഇവിടെ IELTS. But your language in terms of a formal letter, in terms of an informal letter is important. They are not marking you for whether you have written the address correctly and this and that. There is no subject line. But remember, the content of the letter depends on the question, whether you're being given a formal letter or you're being given a semi-formal letter. Sometimes you're also given a completely informal letter. So can someone tell me what is the difference between formal and informal letter? We have all done it in school. So somebody can just highlight. A formal letter is written to whom?
No, written to our bosses.
They're written to our bosses, managers, okay? Yes. People who are at a respectable or at a authority position. When we write a letter to the principal, that's a formal letter, right?
Yes.
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 Similarly, if I ask you, if you're writing a letter to your neighbor, a neighbor who visits your house, what kind of a letter would it be? Formal or informal?
Informal.
Informal, right? So if you're writing a letter to a neighbor who has moved recently and you have never met that person, what would you call that letter? Would it be a formal letter, an informal letter?
Formal.
Formal. Okay, so IELTS puts this in a category called semi-formal. Now, just like I think it was Sudesh who said, formal, formal and semi-formal. What is the difference? Well, there's not much of a difference, but yes, you can be a little relaxed when it comes to a semi-formal letter. So, if you are writing, let's say, a letter, you're getting a question to write a letter to the, let's say, librarian. Now, librarian is a person whom you meet in the university. So, would it be a formal letter? No, it would be a semi-formal letter. Oh, you're writing a letter to your warden. It would be a semi-formal letter. Please remember, the wording is not informal, but it can be a little diluted from the very formal addressal that you make to a boss or a principal. You can maybe be a little more easy while you're addressing, let's say, like I said, a warden or a librarian or a neighbor that you have never met. Such letters come in IELTS Task 1 for general writing candidates. Just like I mentioned, Task 2 രണ്ട് പേർക്കും same ആണ്. Academic candidates and general candidates both have to write one essay in task 2. Of course, the questions are different. Academic students would be attempting another essay, and general candidates would be doing another question on the essay. But both have to write task 2. രണ്ട് പേരും essay തന്നെയാണ് എഴുതേണ്ടത്. So essay has a standard structure. I'm sure all of you know about it. I'll just highlight that an essay structure is basically, you should know that there is an introduction, there has to be body paragraphs, and there has to be a conclusion. Based on the question that you're asked, you need to formulate and take your essay in that particular manner. So I hope I'm clear about IELTS general writing and IELTS academic. So Megha ji, what have you got to write? Task 1 will be a report, and task 2 will be an essay. Yes. Okay. In terms of
60 minutes is the time total for
yes,
this letter and
60
essay.
minutes is the time. Yes, dear. So if you ask me if we can break it down, I would say for the first task, take about 20 minutes. For the essay, you should make time, let's say about 40 minutes to write your essay. All right, that's how we will divide the time. Okay, that's how it goes. So I hope the same works for students as well. You can take about 20 minutes to write your report, and you can take the rest 40 minutes to write your essay. Now guys, there is one more thing that I want you to remember. Writing section attempt ചെയ്യുന്നവർ വെറുതെ എഴുതി കൊടുക്കാൻ അല്ല, എഴുതിയിട്ട് ഒന്ന് റിവൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ സമയമെടുക്കണം. That is because however good you are with language, remember there can be certain things നമ്മൾ എഴുതി പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ചിലപ്പോൾ ഒരിടത്ത് ഓണിന്റെ സ്ഥലത്തിൽ ഇന്ന് എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും, ചിലപ്പം എസ് ഇടുണ്ട്, പ്ലൂറൽ ഫോം എഴുതേണ്ടടുത്ത് ചിലപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ എസ് ഇട്ടിട്ടില്ലായിരിക്കും. അങ്ങനെ ഇങ്ങനത്തെ എറേഴ്സ് ഒക്കെ നമ്മളൊന്ന് ആ റിവ്യൂ ലാസ്റ്റിൽ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ റിവിഷൻ, ജസ്റ്റ് ലൈക്ക് വി ഹാവ് ലേൺഡ് ഇൻ സ്കൂൾ, അതൊന്ന് റിവൈസ് ചെയ്ത് ലാസ്റ്റിൽ തീർക്കുമ്പോൾ മാത്രം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അങ്ങനത്തെ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ എറേഴ്സിന്റെ കറക്ഷൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. സോ മേക്ക് ഷുവർ, if you are writing notes, make sure that you write a very important point on your notebook. What is it? That you need to review what you have written. Only revise cheyidite ee paper submit cheyavullu writing section. Okay, so one more thing that I would like to tell you guys is, for report 150 words, minimum word count has to be 150, same as for the letter. So let me ask you a question. What do you guys think? 150 words ന്റെ താഴെ നമ്മൾ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മാർക്സ് കട്ട് ആവോ ഇല്ലയോ? What do you think?
Definitely cut out.
Definitely cut down. Yes. Mane pillare orthonam, if they have said minimum 150 words, 150 words Allah, I would say you should write at least the upper limit for you should be 170 to 180 words. All right. Why? I would also tell you, there are many words which are repeated. For example, let's say you're writing a letter. Certain words like I, to, in, on, from, the, all these words are repetitive also. So once you have written that word, it is not counted again. So the upper limit that Justice would be teaching you, I have overheard him in his classes, he would always teach, report students to write at least 180 words. Mega 180 words vare ponam. Appade mane namakku oru crisp aayittulla report submit cheyan pattathullu. Got it? But remember, you cannot be lower than 150. Keep that also in mind. Okay. What happens in the other case in terms of a letter? Again, remember, letter has to be at least 150 words. Again, letter lo bolum namukku kore repetitive words okay varum. So do not just stop at 150. Make sure you're writing the letter at least the upper limit should be 170, 180, 185 words, so that you have a very crisp letter that is turned in. All right, that is submitted. So task 1, both academic and general candidates, the minimum limit is 150. 150 യുടെ താഴെ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ task achievement എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു പാരാമീറ്റർ ഉണ്ട്, അതിൽ മാർക്ക് പോകും പിള്ളേരെ. Please remember, you will not get even a 6 for your letter or your report, which will greatly affect your task 2. Okay, which will greatly affect your task 2. Because ആദ്യത്തെ ടാസ്കിൽ let's say 6 ബാൻഡ് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുള്ളൂ, essay ഇത്രയും വലിയൊരു essay അല്ലേ എഴുതണ്ടേ, max to max, let's say you have made some errors, and if you get let's say 6.5, രണ്ടും കൂടെ ആവറേജ് എടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഓവറോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് 6.5 കിട്ടത്തുള്ളൂ. So it is very important that your task 1 is written very well. Task 1 ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ മാർക്ക് മേടിക്കാൻ നോക്കിക്കണം, both academic guys as well as letter writing guys. So task 2, like I said, what is the average limit? Let me tell you that. 250 words, and I have written it as 250 words or more. I have further written, I would recommend you to write how many words? 270 to 290. Remember, repetition of words okay undaum. So overall your word count will fall a little lower than 250. So it is always imperative that you write at least 270 to 290 words. This applies for both academic students and general students. So I hope. Yes.
Is there any way to count the words actually?
Yes. That
only we have 30 minutes.
Yes,
yeah.
You will be taught that. Okay. While Justice takes your class, he will give you a very fine idea on how to count the words that you have written. Okay. So yes, we will be teaching you that. Don't worry. Okay. There, it has to be done. It has to be done. Remember, guys, always remember, word count നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ, of course, examiner എടുക്കുന്ന word count വെച്ചിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ടെൻഷൻ എടുത്തിട്ട് ഒരു കാര്യമില്ല. So yes, you are taught, you will be taught how to count how many words you have written. ഒന്നൊന്നായിട്ടല്ല words count ചെയ്യേണ്ടേ. Sir will teach you a technique, Justice will teach you a technique where you will know exactly how many lines you have to write in order to get this particular word limit, 270 to 290 words. Okay, so these, don't worry, it will be taught. Other very important aayittulla karyana mane. So you have to be taught that. Okay, so great. One more thing about IELTS writing that I want to tell you is, there are 2 examiners that check your essay. Actually, when I say 2 examiners, one examiner, of course, now we have only IDP that is conducting the exam. One examiner would be from IDP. Just like Justice, there would be an examiner. And the second review is done by a professional from Cambridge. So writing is one section where your examiner Also, your native examiner also looks into your writing section. And remember, a native speaker, English Karen, in English, we'll call it as a native speaker. Okay, a person whose native language is English. That's what we call a native speaker as. Okay, so remember, there are two examiners who are checking. So, ഇപ്പം എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരു കാര്യം മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടോ? വെറുതെ അല്ല ആൾക്കാർക്ക് റൈറ്റിംഗിൽ മാർക്ക് കിട്ടാത്തത്. Absolutely correct. Writing la mark കിട്ടാത്തതിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ difficulty, like I told you first thing is you are writing it black and white. നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതുന്ന എല്ലാ എററും clearly ഒരാളുടെ മുന്നേ എഴുതിയാണ് കൊടുത്തേക്കുന്നത്. So first thing is your errors that will be easily found out. Second thing, like I said, these are important things here. Grammar, I've already told you, the writing structure has to be followed. Now, during these classes that you attend with us, we will be teaching you how to write a report or a letter or an essay. So these structures have to be carefully followed. Structure follow chedilingil pilare writing again you will lose marks. And the most important thing, just like I told you, എഴുതി കൊടുക്കുന്ന സ്ഥിതിക്ക് സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് എറേഴ്സ് വരാൻ പാടുണ്ടോ? ഇല്ല. സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് എറേഴ്സ് വരാതിരിക്കാൻ, ഗ്രാമർ മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് വരാതിരിക്കാൻ, എൻ്റെ പൊന്നു പിള്ളേരെ, റിമെമ്പർ, ഐ എം ടെലിംഗ് യു വൺസ് അഗൈൻ, റൈറ്റിംഗ് എഴുതി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഒന്ന് വായിച്ചു നോക്കിക്കണം. മേക്ക് ഷുവർ ദാറ്റ് യു ആർ ഡൂയിങ് വർത്ത് വൈൽ റിവ്യൂ, റിവൈസിങ് ഇറ്റ്. നമ്മുടെ സ്കൂൾ കാലത്തിലൊക്കെ ടീച്ചേഴ്സ് പറയുന്നത് പോലെ എക്സാം എഴുതി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഒന്ന് റിവിഷൻ ചെയ്തോണം, ഒന്ന് വായിച്ചു നോക്കിക്കണം. During those times, we correct all these things, these spelling errors, elpan ezhudi poye errors, grammar errors, s ivide ittilla, ayyo avade dash ittilla, ivide comma ittilla, all those things you can correct. Writing structure you will be taught. So this is something that you guys will learn eventually for both report, letter and essay. So this is about writing. I have told you the word limit. I have told you how the examiner catches you. Remember, there are two examiners also who are checking. So or examiner de score തന്നേക്കുന്നത് അടുത്ത examiner മാറ്റി കളയോ അങ്ങനെ വരത്തില്ല. But remember, two examiners are there, so it has to be a good work. Now many people, many people, when they send their work to justice also, essay എഴുതിയിട്ട് സാറിന് ഫോട്ടോ എടുത്തങ്ങ് അയക്കും, ഒരു പ്രാവശ്യം വായിച്ചു പോലും നോക്കിയിട്ടില്ലായിരിക്കും. Remember, he gets to know immediately that you guys have not read the essay. Because remember, we've been doing this for the past, I would say, the examiner roles, just like I told you guys yesterday, it's been at least 11 years for me and Justice that we are into this role, not just in India. I have started it from UK, wherein even English candidates make so many errors. നിങ്ങൾ ഒരിക്കലും വിചാരിക്കല്ലേ ദാറ്റ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ്കാരായതുകൊണ്ട് അവർ നമ്മളെക്കാളും ബെറ്റർ ആയിരിക്കും. അവർക്കുള്ള സ്പെല്ലിംഗ് എറേഴ്സ് is something that you guys would be like, ayyo ma'am, ivar itrem poliyano. You would actually be asking me that. Yes, a native speaker has a lot of spelling errors. They have also got a lot of grammatical errors. So I'm not saying that നമ്മൾ അവരെക്കാളും മോശമാണ്, അങ്ങനെ ഒന്നും അല്ല മാം പറയണേ. ബട്ട് റിമെമ്പർ, റൈറ്റിംഗ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വായിച്ചു നോക്കിക്കണം നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് എഴുതിയേക്കുന്നത്. So that minimum mistakes can be there. Something that you don't know is what the mistake would be in that case. Rest everything should be perfectly clear. So going forward, I've also told you what the word count should be. Going forward, I told you about two examiners who are marking. And further on, I'm not pulling you guys here. You have to learn all of this while we take up the sections in detail. And going forward, now, this is something that I wanted to teach you guys in terms of writing and speaking. Writing section le marking varna pillare is based on 4 major points. Okay, I'll just quickly run through this. Idu vaichittu, don't get worried or anything. This is called TA, is called task achievement. What is this task? Task is nothing but the question. That is, ചോദ്യം ആയിട്ട് അവർ ചോദിച്ചേക്കുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാ പാർട്സ് ഓഫ് ദ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആൻസർ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? If you have achieved that particular target, that is, have you answered the question fully? That is what task achievement is all about. What is a task response? The answer to the question that you have given. അവർ ചോദിച്ചേക്കുന്ന ആൻസർ നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? So there are two things in it. First thing is whether you have addressed all the parts of the question. അവർ why not ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് നിങ്ങൾ ചോദ്യത്തിന്റെ രീതിയിൽ രണ്ടും you have put forward, or if the question is in, or let's say, either you have to say the reason or you have to give your opinion. All that comes under task achievement. Response is purely your answer that you have given, whether it is coherent. Okay, I'm coming there. The second part, CC in the varam, it is called as coherence and cohesion. What is coherence and cohesion? You guys would be like, okay, this is something new. Coherence is, please remember, whenever you are saying something, whenever you're writing something, there has to be a flow. Can we talk about something where we were talking about science, and as soon as we went forward, body paragraphs, okay, science mari sports hai, physical exercises hai. You cannot do that. You will lose marks in coherence. You have to stick logically to the question. That is what coherence means. So what do you mean by cohesion? Cohesion is this word, linkage between sentences. Cohesion is also taught to you guys. Enganeyana cohesive markers. Cohesive markers, I'll give you a few examples. Words like firstly, secondly, meanwhile, however, but. All these words are called, I would say, cohesive devices, or they show linkage between two sentences. Like I said, this is all a part of the structure. The structure will be taught to you. With that, you guys will have a very clear understanding of this second parameter, that is coherence. പറഞ്ഞേക്കുന്ന ഐഡിയയിൽ തന്നെയാണല്ലോ. അവർ സ്പോർട്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് ചോദിച്ചു, നമ്മൾ സയൻസിനെ കുറിച്ച് എഴുതി. അത് ചെയ്യല്ലേ? If they have asked you about science, write about science. If they have asked you about, let's say, advertisements, write about advertisements. Don't get into another style and talk about marketing and sales. Stick to promotions, stick to advertising. That is very important, otherwise you will lose marks in writing. So this is the second parameter. The third parameter here, lexical resources. Don't think that I am running through it. Remember, once again, I'm telling you, idokke detail item ningale padipichu tharanulladana. So as we move into different sections, this will be all taken up in detail. Okay, so my job here is to just to give you an overall idea. Yes, he joined the
he's trying to join my class.
If you could just unmute and tell him that he has to join the other link. One second, guys. 1 second. I've got.
Vishnu. Hello, Vishnu. So you can. You have to join the other class, not this one.
Let me also send the link to Vishnu.
No, this is not the class for you. You have to join the other class. It's being taken by Angel Man.
Give me 1 second, please, guys.
Just go back to the group, to the WhatsApp group, and in the WhatsApp group,
I've sent him the link.
Maam has also sent you the link personally.
Okay, sorry for the interruption, guys. I've got one more candidate. His name is Vishnu. He's from Bangalore. So even yesterday he was unable to join. So he is here. Great. So hi Vishnu, I hope you're all set here. This is the session you have to be a part of. Vishnu, you can hear me and you can see the screen as well. Just give me a confirmation. You can, Vishnu, you can unmute. Look at this. There will be a mic. You can unmute that and you can talk. Vishnu is, he's being disconnected. Okay.
I think he has lost his connection.
Yes, he is disconnected. Yes. Okay, let him join again. So we'll just, yeah, he's here now. Vishnu, I hope you can. Yes, hi. You can turn off your video, dear. You can turn off your video. Okay. There is a sign here below your. If you just swipe your mobile, you can see yes. So the video is off, and if you could just unmute, you could press that mic button and say a hello so that I know that I can hear you clearly.
I can hear.
Yes, great. Okay, okay.
Hello?
So great. Yes, yes. Vishnu, I can hear you too.
Okay.
All right. So we were just looking at today's session. That was the writing part. And I am talking about the main parameters that writing section looks into. Just like I mentioned, task achievement or task response is the first parameter, wherein they check different aspects. Vishnu, you could mute. All right. Yes. Okay. So task achievement and task response, like I said, I'm just giving a recap, guys, so that he also feels on the same page. So if there is a question that is given, you're supposed to make sure that you're not incomplete in answering the question. You're able to answer every part of the question. That is called task achievement. So what is task response? Task response is basically the answer that you have given. ഇനിയും അവര് ചോദിക്കുകയാണ് whether technology in the classroom is an advantage, and if you have not talked about that, whether it is an advantage or not. You were generally talking about technology in classrooms has been introduced, children are using it. Remember, they are asking you a particular question. You have achieved the task, but you are not giving any response over the task. You will lose marks in task response. This is the first parameter that you have in terms of writing. The second thing that I just spoke about was coherence and cohesion. Just like I said, if they have asked you whether the use of technology in classrooms has been an advantage for students, and if you are talking about yes, it is very exciting, it's very straightforward, it improves children's learning experience, you're talking about smart classes, you're talking about gadgets like touch boards, all those things I would say are very coherent. If you guys are talking about in the past, we used to learn from a blackboard where the teacher used to sit with the students and she used to clarify doubts. And coherence mark our chodichekkunna question answer alla ivide paranjondirikkunnu. You are not, your idea flow is not logical. You will lose marks in coherence. Coherence matra alla, I also talked about cohesion. Cohesion is something that you guys have to be taught. What is it? It is nothing but the linkage between sentences. When I say linkage between sentences, it is about words like, just like I mentioned, on the contrary, in fact, but, and, in addition to. All these words show whether you are, let's say, ആദ്യം നമ്മൾ ഒരു കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞു, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വേറെ ഒരു കാര്യം ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുവാണെങ്കിൽ you have to give a contrasting linker. If you do not provide such a word, again, where will you lose marks? Cohesion. Does anyone know what is cohesion? In plain English, what do you mean by the word cohesion? Does anyone know that? Huh? Anyone?
Sticking together, something
Sticking
like that.
together, yes, sticking together, exactly. So this Fevicol and all, if you have seen a Fevicol ka dabba, you will see it would be written down. Yeah, it's a cohesive substance. രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഒട്ടിപ്പിടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് അത്. So remember, cohesion is what രണ്ട് sentencesന്റെ ഇടയ്ക്ക് വരുന്ന linkage, or how two sentences are sticking with each other. So I hope I'm able to give it in a little more common perspective. Coherence word orthonum. Coherence is a basic flow. Okay, example just to not to make it too boring. Many a times, mostly men say that women don't have any coherence. Let's say I and Sarita, we are both very old friends, and we are sitting and talking. Let's say we have another friend. Let's say Sudesh is another friend. He is sitting there and he is listening to both of us talking. After sometimes Sudesh will be like, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞൂടെ, ആദ്യം ഒരു കാര്യം പറയും, പിന്നെ രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം, പിന്നെ അത് പറയും, പിന്നെ ഇത് പറയും. So generally men say that females lack this quality, coherence. That is because they will talk about a lot of things. ആദ്യം പിള്ളേരുടെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാം, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് അവർ മെക്ഡോണൽഡ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാം, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് മെക്ഡോണൽഡ്സ് വിട്ടിട്ട് അവർ ലുലുയുടെ ഹൈജീനിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയും, പിന്നെ പാർക്കിങ്ങിന്റെ ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ടീസ് ആയിരിക്കും, പിന്നെ അവര് ലുലുൽ ആരെയൊക്കെ കണ്ടു എന്ന് സംസാരിക്കും, പിന്നെ അവർ തിരിച്ചു വരുന്ന അയ്യോ പിള്ളേരുടെ കാര്യം. So if you do that, remember, flow of ideas are affected. If you're talking about children, let's say I and let's say Vishnu, we both are talking, we both are friends, we are supposed to talk about our children, the difficulties faced by our children, the way children are coping up with the difficulties. All those things are coherent together. But just like I gave you an example, just like commonly people say that if two females are talking, you can never know what these females are talking about. Why? Coherence illata vartana. Flow of ideas is like this, that, this, that. It goes on around the world and it comes back. So remember, logical flow of ideas is coherence. Cohesion, just like you guys said, something that sticks together, something that links two sentences. Again, Justice Sir would be teaching both of these things. I would say through exercises and all he teaches you, you will have a very good clarity about these two elements, coherence, CC, coherence and cohesion. It is very important in writing. So make sure that you have a very good understanding of it. It is very important and you cannot lose marks here. CC la mark poi kainyala, writing again you will face a lot of difficulty. The third parameter, lexical resource. Chalo, can anyone give me a, oh my god, I have already written here. Okay, so in other words, lexical resource, a simple word for it is vocabulary. Now let me also give you an example. When I vocabulary word in the parnya odane, most of the students feel that ഭയങ്കര കട്ടിയുള്ള വേർഡ്സ്, ഇതുവരെ നമ്മൾ പോലും പറയാത്ത കുറെ വേർഡ്സ് ഒക്കെ നമ്മൾ എഴുതി കൊടുത്താൽ വൊക്കാബുലറി ഉണ്ടെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവും. മോനെ അത് that is not correct. Okay, let me tell you something. I'll give you an example. Then Malayalam kore കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് you guys would see that I struggle. Why? Because I don't have the lexical resource. Yesterday I was asking a very simple word. I hope Megha and Sudesh would remember. Amulet. I don't know the vocabulary for it in Malayalam. Right? You guys were helping me out. So please remember, vocabulary is the natural usage of associated words. When I say associated words, let me give you an example here. In many cases, let's say you're talking about food. So you have learned certain words. For example, somebody has told you that ഒരുപാട് food items ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, അപ്പോൾ അതിന് ഒരു word use ചെയ്യാം, plethora. Plethora word means basically something that is abundant. Now, I would never tell you to use this word in terms of food, in terms of something where you're talking about a variety. That does not mean this word plethora cannot be used synonymously for variety. Plethora basically means abundance of something. So if I give you an
plethora means it's great. It's right? Great അല്ലെങ്കിൽ lot എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത്
plethora basically means abundant ആയിട്ട് ഒരു സംഭവം ഉള്ളത്. That is plethora. I'll give you an example. Okay? I'll give you an example. We can say there are plethora of marine organisms in the ocean waters. Plethora, ഒരുപാട് marine organisms ഉണ്ടെന്ന്. Okay, abundant ആയിട്ട് ഉണ്ടെന്ന്. That is what this word plethora basically means. But let's say Joji goes ahead and he is writing an essay and he is talking about children have a plethora of gadgets to use. Mone, that is a very wrong usage. പിള്ളേർക്ക് അങ്ങനെ abundantly ഒന്നോ രണ്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 4 gadget ആണ് പിള്ളേരുടെ കയ്യിലുള്ളത്. What is that? It's a tablet, a mobile phone, maybe a computer, and last of it, maybe a TV. This is what you're talking about. rather than saying such a word which is, like I said, associative word ano alla. വെറുതെ ചുമ്മാ ആരോ പറഞ്ഞു നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെന്ന് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇടണമെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ വേർഡ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാം, പ്ലിഥോറ. നോ, ഡോണ്ട് യൂസ് ഇറ്റ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. യു വിൽ ലൂസ് മാർക്സ്. Lexical resource is not like that. Lexical resource or vocabulary is, if you're talking about food, you should be able to use words like, for example, platter, variety of dishes, delicious, finger licking. Again, you would have seen the tagline of KFC. I'm sure everyone knows that. Finger licking good.
Yeah.
Yes. Why do they? Why didn't they say that it is let's say, something like on a very basic note, good to eat? Why didn't they say something like that? Good to eat. Arey, good is such a general word, right? If I ask Remya, how are you doing? She'll say, I'm doing good. So how was the chicken from KFC? Oh, it was good. Rather than that, if she tells me, oh ma'am, like yesterday we ordered some chicken from KFC, it was delicious, it was finger licking. If you use words like these, I know that this person is very good with vocabulary. People who have an associative sense of words, business use ചെയ്യുന്ന words, business oriented ആയിട്ടുള്ള words. ഭക്ഷണത്തിന്റെ കുറിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഭക്ഷണത്തിന്റെ ഒരു റിലേറ്റഡ് ഒരു വേർഡ് കാറ്റഗറി, that is called lexical resources. Remember, even in Google, many people would teach you that chumma or word in a verde poi or synonym ittu kayinal Google will suggest a lot of words, adnathode edu word aano ningalku ishtapadana adittu. Don't do that, guys. You will lose marks in terms of IELTS. Why will you lose marks? Writing is very academic. Essay writing, business essay onnu alla nammal ezhudane. Newspaper കാണുന്ന ആർട്ടിക്കിൾസ് പോലെ അല്ല നമ്മളുടെ എസ്സേ ഇരിക്കേണ്ടത്. You cannot afford to be so informal. You cannot afford to be so loose. You have to use the exact, or let me say in a different way, you have to use very formal usage for whatever words you are going to use there. Some people are like, okay, they learned a word. Okay, children should be provided with all the resources that they need. Very good word, provided. And that's a very good, I would say, nalle bhangiyaitana lexical resources used cheyidekana. On the other hand, provide in the synonyms tappi, you are like, okay, bring undallo, progress undallo. Okay, there are so many words which is giving you an understanding of provide. But on the same hand, if you see another word, impart, I would say provide, impart, all these are on the same lines. People who have an understanding of English, they know how to use these words in a very clear manner. Then Malayalam idonna nammade when I take classes for, especially for students, then avarodu oru karyam parayum, especially when we are taking offline classes, I tell them in the class, mone verde words thalli vidan nokkalle. തനി കൊച്ചി ആക്സെന്റിലാണ് ഞാനിത് പറഞ്ഞത്. വെറുതെ വേർഡ്സ് തള്ളാൻ നോക്കല്ലേ. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ബിക്കോസ് പീപ്പിൾ, എക്സാമിനേഴ്സ് ആർ വെരി വെൽ റെഡ് പീപ്പിൾ. ഓക്കെ, ദേ ഹാവ് എ വെരി ഗുഡ് അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡിങ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് വൊക്കാബുലറി. വെറുതെ നമ്മൾ ഇന്നലെ നാളെ എക്സാം ആണ്, ഇന്നൊരു ലിസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് വേർഡ്സ് നമ്മുടെ ട്രെയിനിങ് സെന്ററിൽ നിന്ന് തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഇതൊക്കെ എസ്സേയിൽ തട്ടിക്കണം. ഡോണ്ട് ഡു ദാറ്റ്. യു വിൽ റാദർ ലൂസ് മാർക്സ്, നോട്ട് ഗെയിൻ മാർക്സ്. So you will be taught how to use lexical resources in writing. Very specifically, Justice would be giving you a list of formal and informal words so that you don't, you're not in a confused state. You're very sure about what you have to use. So again, remember vocabulary. Now many of you would give me a reference of Shashi Tharoor. Let me tell you, when in the parliament, when he is talking, ആർക്കും മനസ്സിലാവാത്ത രീതിയിലാണോ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്? No, he talks in a very good manner. He knows what his lexical resources are. He knows what is he talking about. But പുള്ളി വെറുതെ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് റിലേറ്റഡ് ഒരു പോസ്റ്റ് ഒക്കെ ഇട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പുള്ളി നല്ല രസമാണ്. he'll give very tough words and he'll challenge people to come and comment, and I follow him. So on Twitter and all, sometimes he puts things like these. Mane pillare orthonam. Shashi Tharoor is a very learned man. Ayalku lexical resources ottri valare bhangiyayittu use cheyan ariyam. He never makes some mistakes on those. If he is standing in a college and if he is addressing students, he knows what words he has to use. He will not use those words that he used in the parliament meeting in the morning. Remember, vocabulary or a list of words alla. Vocabulary is something that you learn with the usage of words. So in writing, again, just like I said, Justice would be giving you an understanding of this. You'll be given a particular list where you will be made understood that, okay, idana informal word. ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പം ഇത് എങ്ങനെ പറയാം? അതിന്റെ formal structure-ഉം തന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. So you guys have to go through all of that, and eventually, while you give him the essays for reviews and all, you'll get an understanding of LR or lexical resources. Now, this is the third parameter in writing. Let me come on to the last parameter, and this was the first thing that I talked about: grammatical range and accuracy. Grammatical range ne kurichu njan ippam ningale parnju bore adivikunnilla, because you have to learn that. Endana ee range ennu parnal inganathe sentence aanu, nammal complex sentences aano, simple sentences, adokke you have to learn that, you have to study that. And now, guys, tell me, what is accuracy? He, if you have used he, or if you have used the word people, you should know whether has to come or have has to come. That is called accuracy of grammar. If you are using he, she, you should know that you can only use has. Has is singular in nature. He has a car. If he പറഞ്ഞില്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ എന്ത് പറയും? My uncle has a car. My parents, plural I, singular alla. What will come? My parents have a car. This is called grammatical accuracy. Now, many people who do not have this accuracy, again, we support them with grammar classes. They are supposed to do those sessions, come back with notes, do some exercises on it, and then again start with their work in writing. So accuracy is something which is very important in grammar. Grammar accuracy illattavarku 7 band kittathilla. I hope I have said it very clearly. This fourth parameter, that is accurate grammar usage illattavarku orikkulum band 7 kittathilla. You're always under band 7. You'll only be able to get 6.5, 6, maybe lower than that, but 7 is difficult if your grammar is not accurate. That is, whatever grammar you have written, it has to be correct, it has to be exact, it has to be like we say in English, it has to be precisely used. Accurate aite use cheyidirikanam. So there is some correctness that has to come in terms of your writing. So what do you understand? Ee 4 parameters vechittana, remember guys, your writing is being checked. So task achievement undarikanam, that is every part of the question has to be answered. Ini answer parayumbothekku avar chodichekkunna karyam thanne answer la parayanam, allengil task response la mark po. Next thing that I talked about was coherence and cohesion. I'm sure you guys have a very good understanding now. The ideas have to go in a flow. വെറുതെ ആദ്യം എയുടെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു, പിന്നെ സിയുടെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു, പിന്നെ എഫിന്റെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു, പിന്നെ ജിയുടെ കുറിച്ച്. You cannot do that. You have to go in a flow. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You have to use cohesive devices, words that stick these sentences or provide a linkage between sentences. Okay. Then comes LR or lexical resources. Just like I said, verde or list thannu, adu vaichu padichu, adu like I said, like I tell younger students in the classroom, adu verde thalli verde avade ivade stuff cheythu mark kittum ennu vicharikilla. That's not a good attempt. Remember, vaikina aalkar athra mandamar onnu alla. They are very much certified. And remember, ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളോട് അങ്ങോട്ട് ഒരു കാര്യം പറയാണ്. If I give, let's say, if I give Sudesh a paper where a person has, done a lot of grammar mistakes. ഒരു 10 പ്രാവശ്യം ഞാൻ സുധീഷിന് അതേ ആളുടെ അതേ രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു പേപ്പർ തന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു ആഫ്റ്റർ ചെക്കിംഗ് ഇറ്റ് 5 times സുധീഷ് വിൽ ബി ലൈക്ക് എന്റെ പൊന്ന് മാം എനിക്ക് വേറെ വല്ലോടെ ഒന്ന് തരാം മാം ഇത് എനിക്ക് ഒരു മതിയായി എനിക്ക് വൈ യാർ റീഡിങ് ഇറ്റ് യു ഓൾസോ ഫീൽ ടയേർഡ് റൈറ്റ് സോ റിമെമ്പർ examiners do get into that feel നമ്മൾ പോലും വായിച്ചു നോക്കിയിട്ടില്ല നമ്മൾ പോലും കറക്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല നമുക്ക് തന്നെ അറിയാം നമ്മൾ എഴുതിയേക്കുന്നത് പകുതി മുക്കാലും മണ്ടത്തറ guys if a paper cannot be read by you you are expecting the examiner to give you 6.5 7 8 and all that's something which is I would say which is very unreasonable നടക്കാത്ത ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് അത് so make sure that you are working very well with the words that you use ഇനി ചിലവർ എന്നോട് ചോദിക്കും മാം അപ്പം വൊക്കാബുലറി ഒക്കെ കാണിച്ചേ പറ്റൂ അല്ലേ মানে വൊക്കാബുലറിയിൽ അത്രയും ലെവൽ ഇല്ലാത്തവരാണെങ്കിൽ do yourself a favor use very simple words and give your ideas I'm telling you you will score much better in writing than a person who himself would have never used a word like that just because someone else told him to use he is stuffing it here and there rather than that use a very simple language and provide your ideas trust me that will do you more good than stuffing tough words that you yourself have no clue about okay so vocabulary I hope in terms of IELTS palarkum pala I would say YouTube lo or load YouTubers under who are there giving info about IELTS they'll be like you know you have to learn this word if you learn this vocabulary word you will score more my dear students these are all I would say gimmicks remember I always say this to my students that do you think in a free course they will give you all the mantras never then who are these people who are you know getting a good score they are people who have really worked hard they have done reviews and sat down for months in preparation and given this test so if it was about just going through some YouTube videos and getting marks in IELTS everyone would have been scoring well right please get out of this impression wherein you are like following like we say too many cooks spoil the soup there are too many influences that people have in terms of vocabulary I'm giving you a very clear picture if you are a person who does not have a very good vocabulary start today I will be giving you some resources today start today you have time with us you are almost working with us for 1 or 2 months so all of you have that much time to build it to use it to make mistakes with it to get corrections on it അപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ജോജി is like എനിക്കിത് മനസ്സിലായി ഇതെവിടെയാ യൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് എനിക്ക് സംഭവം മനസ്സിലായി if you are not sure about using such words do not use them rather use very simple words that's what I would talk about lexical resources then like I said grammar that you guys already know grammar is something that you need to have an accuracy about I'll give you an example while I talk in Malayalam many of you I always say that in class many I have actually seen that in class many students know while we'll be explaining in Malayalam avade irunnu you know they'll be sitting and laughing that is because we make such errors absolutely because of course I'm not here to teach you Malayalam but certainly I'm also making an attempt right to make it a little more simpler to come into the understanding that everyone has but I do make mistakes in Malayalam but when it comes to English remember English has to be exact you guys would be wondering that okay what Angel said is correct Malayalam yes she has grammar errors she understands that absolutely guys I do understand that that's the same thing marichu ഞാൻ വേറെ ഒരു വശം കാണിക്കുകയാണ് I'm just turning the tables English ആവുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് many places you guys have certain errors here and there we are here to clear those errors off to give you corrections on it to help you with that and to teach you how to write it better so please understand grammar is very very important range I'm not touching right now I have only touched this aspect of accuracy so this is about IELTS writing as such like I said a quick recap on IELTS writing. So academic candidates have two tasks. What are they? Task one will be, task one is a
Letter.
academic candidates. Academic
Task 1 is a report.
is a report. And what is task two for a academic student?
Essay.
Essay. What happens for a general candidate? What is he writing first? He is writing task one. Yes, absolutely. He is writing a letter. Again, what is a general candidate writing in task two?
Essay.
Essay. For both report and letter, what is the minimum word limit? Etre words minimum eduthanam namakku?
150.
150 words. In task two, what is the minimum word count?
250.
250. Awesome. So let me give you one more area. Guys, if you ever want to figure out something about IELTS, go to the IELTS original website and figure this out. Okay. We have provided all the access on our website through very genuine IELTS resources. That is mostly because IELTS org, that's what the original website that belongs to IELTS is. There is no other website that is originally for IELTS. All the other websites are from different people. If you want to figure out something, you want to understand, okay, idile endokkana task, endengilum difference undo, endengilum updates undo, the site that you have to refer is ielts.org. Please do not look it out anywhere else. Okay, so going forward, let's understand what is speaking. So as a matter of fact, again, another big area where people have a lot of doubt, a lot of, I would say, fear, a lot of stress is speaking section. Why are people so worried about speaking? First thing, it's just 11 to 14 minutes. Now, because I have written 11 to 14 minutes, you guys should know one thing. If you are not a good speaker, the examiner will not challenge you in a speaking test. She would rather keep you comfortable and finish your test in 12 minutes. But if you are an awesome speaker, if you're a speaker who can manage to converse, your test will be for 14 minutes for sure. All of you here should know that all of you here will face a test that is 14 minutes. Nobody is that weak in that language. I do have certain students who are like, 12th standard pass students who are very new to IELTS as such. Many young students who are just, just finished their degree and all, and who do not have much of an exposure. They struggle with English. Possibly for them, I would say maybe 11, 12 minutes. But all of you here are at such a level where your test will be for this mentioned, I would say, 14 minutes of test time. And a 14 minutes ne mail illa. Not even 1 second more. It's a very, I would say, it's a highly timed test. Not even 1 second more is wasted, or the next candidate will lose that much time. So please keep this in mind. Remember, speaking section is 11 to 14 minutes. Again, speaking, just like listening, is same for IELTS academic and for general candidates. There's no difference. But speaking has a lot of, I would say, a range of topics and questions. Okay, so you guys are in safe hands. As of now, I would say in the whole of Kerala, our website, that is asklearning.in, is one website where you have a lot of content. When I say content, I'm talking about sample answers. I'm talking about speaking lists for each of the 4 months that they update. That is all provided across this website. Many of you are aware of it. Many of you would be aware as I teach you. So please remember, speaking is basically a tentative, a preparation based on a lot of topics. Part 1, part 2, part 3. There are a lot of topics. I will be giving you an understanding. I'll be taking you through all of them. I'll be giving you a document. I'll be providing you with the clear access to all the questions, all the sample answers that I can give you. And I'm sure all of you would be able to take this up well. Now, an important thing about speaking, why people are so stressed out. It's basically like a one-on-one interview. When I say one-on-one, it is a face-to-face session. So I would say Megha goes inside the examiner's room. It is Megha and the examiner, just two people in that room, and the speaking test is conducted. So it's a tension okay very low when you're sitting in a room like that. I've got Ramya here who has given a speaking test before. So Ramya, tension adikkathille speaking section kodukkumbom ado cool aano?
കേറണ വരെ ഉള്ളൂ കേറി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ കുഴപ്പമില്ല.
Guys, always remember this one-on-one interview. It is just like she said. നമ്മളൊന്ന് ആ സെറ്റപ്പിലോട്ട് കയറുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഭയങ്കര സ്ട്രെസ് ആണ്. അയ്യോ എക്സാമിനർ ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും അങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും, അവർ ഗ്രിൽ ചെയ്യാൻ പോവാണ്, അവർ അത് ചെയ്യും ഇത് ചെയ്യും. പ്ലീസ് റിമെമ്പർ, വൺസ് യു ആർ ദേർ, ദി എക്സാമിനർ ഇസ് ആക്ച്വലി എ വെരി സ്വീറ്റ് പേഴ്സൺ. ട്രസ്റ്റ് മീ, സ്പീക്കിംഗ് എക്സാമിനേഴ്സ് ആർ ട്രെയിൻഡ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. അവർ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മാർക്ക് തരാനാണ് അവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്, മാർക്ക് കട്ട് ചെയ്യാനല്ല ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. If you have that sort of an understanding, because remember, he or she is conducting the test for you. All right, നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് കോളേജിൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്കൂളിലൊക്കെ വൈവ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഓറൽ എക്സാംസ് ഒക്കെ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, please remember, if why do you get tensed once you are sitting in front of the teacher? You are in a mood to answer. എന്നാ ടീച്ചറിന്റെ അടുത്ത് പോകുന്നത് വരെ അവിടെ ഇരുന്ന് എല്ലാവരും ഭയങ്കര ടെൻഷനാണ്. Please remember, speaking is something like that. Now, I have a question for all of you before I tell you the parts in speaking. Is speaking a formal test or is it an informal test? Let me know. What is your thought?
Yeah, formal and informal will come in writing part, I think. In speaking,
Okay. Speaking?
Because if they ask about the details of our personal, also we need to tell.
Okay.
I
Chalo.
don't think it's a formal meeting or informal.
Okay. So I've got two guys who have told me this. How about the others? What do you think? Speaking is a formal test or is it an informal test? Megha, what do you think?
I think it's a formal test.
You think it is a formal test. Chalo. Fine. Sarita, what do you think? Formal, informal? Engane irikku set up? Formal. Okay. Let me break the ice for everyone here. Speaking is completely informal. Okay. Speaking is completely informal. There are many people who do not know this and they are running IELTS training centers across the world. Let me tell you, speaking is not a formal test at all. Okay? Just like I think Sudesh mentioned, they ask you a lot of personal questions. They ask you whether you like music. What kind of music do you like? What do you like cooking? Do you spend time with your family members? How do you feel when somebody is getting irritated with you? Are you a person who gets angry very much? ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഒക്കെ ആരെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഫോർമൽ ഇന്റർവ്യൂലൊക്കെ ചോദിക്കുമോ? ഇല്ല. ഫോർമൽ ഇന്റർവ്യൂവിൽ ഭയങ്കര ഫോർമൽ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. So where do you live? And how much time will you take to reach the office? Are you aware that you cannot be late here? These are the kind of formal questions that you find in an interview. Can you laugh out, move your hands and express your feelings in an interview? No. But in a speaking test, you can do that. I would say you should do that. Speaking is not a test where you have to be frozen. People who are frozen usually do not score in speaking. Speaking, remember, laugh out, talk, move your hands. You can, I would say, or a formal dressing polo avashyamilla. Jeans and t-shirt ittondu venam povan adana. And for terms of females, I would say you don't have to be formally dressed in a salwar, churidar and all. You can literally wear a skirt and a top and go. Literally be so informal. Speaking is not formal at all, guys. So with this, pagadi tension ningal tare vekkanam, because they are not conducting an interview. They are, in other words, they are having a conversation with you. When I say a conversation, I'll give you a perspective. We have so many guests who come to our house, right? When they come to our house, initially our keri varumbadethekku, we are all very, uh, very warm, and we'll give them seat to sit. Then we'll be talking, and eventually the guest will slowly come to the kitchen, and they'll be like, aha, gardening okay cheyarunda. Slowly the person will get into a very good mood. Speaking section is just like that. When you start, you would feel that it's a very formal setup. But remember, as each questions go on, you all should understand it is not a formal test, my dear students. It is a very, very informal test. Close-ended answers speaking la koduttal mark kittathilla. വെറുതെ അവിടെ മസിൽ പിടിച്ച് അത് പറയത്തില്ല ഇത് പറയത്തില്ല അങ്ങനെ ആൻസേഴ്സ് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ സ്പീക്കിംഗിൽ മാർക്ക് കിട്ടത്തില്ല. If you cannot smile and talk, if you want to move your hand but you're tying your hand and you're sitting as if you should not move, as if you're giving an interview or something, if you do that, you will rather lose marks. You should have a smile on your face. If you feel like saying something that is funny, please do say it. You want to say a no, please say it. You want to say a yes, please say that. You want to even say that you don't know. Remember, speaking test is, again, I'm telling you, it's very informal. In informal പറഞ്ഞ സ്ഥിതിക്ക് ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ പറയാം. Many people think that, ma'am, if our reading the question ചോദിച്ചു, okay, so I'm asking Vishnu, so are you a person who reads? Vishnu is like, Vishnu വായിക്കത്തൊന്നുമില്ല, but somebody has told him that speaking lo no പറയില്ല. That's a very wrong technique. Please don't follow that. I would rather tell Vishnu, mone read cheyyunna aalanengil read cheyyum nu para. Read cheyyatha oralanengil read cheyyatilla nu para. Pillare orthonam, the test is to check your speaking skills, not the facts that are coming along with speaking. Whether this person said, whether he read cheyyunna oralanengil avane extra points kodukku, read cheyyatha aalanengil avane 5 mark kattiya. No, it is not like that. I am just looking at how Vishnu is speaking. So if I ask him a question, so Vishnu, do you read books? If I tell you the truth, ma'am, I have some sort of analogy towards books from my childhood years. I actually am not a very, very keen reader. If you answer me like this, trust me, I'll give you more points than Vishnu is saying that, yes, I read a lot of books, and those books are like magazines, novels. And the next question may be, so which is the latest novel that you read? As a method, then you'll be thinking, pauses will come in. I would rather say, remember, it's a speaking test. Parameters idine vere aanu. I'll be teaching you this. You guys will be wondering, oh my god, itrayum nisaramaയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റിനാണോ ഞാൻ ഇത്രയും സ്ട്രെസ് എടുത്തേ? I'm specially telling this because, just like you all said, ഭൂരിപക്ഷം ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഉള്ള അറിവ്, that is because the trainers who are training them, they themselves have not researched it till yet. They understand speaking to be a formal test. Speaking is not a formal test. Speaking is a highly informal test. Just like, I think it was Sudesh who mentioned, they ask you so many personal questions. Or formal test la njan orikkalum Sarithayodu choikkathilla, so what was the last dish that you cooked? So on birthdays, do you bake cakes? Idokke formal questions ne part alla. Nobody asks you this on a formal note. Formal questions are very different than informal questions. Speaking is all about such questions. I'll be teaching you that in detail. So the first and the most important idea that you have to take here is, speaking is a very informal test. Okay, it is not something where നമ്മൾ മസിൽ പിടിച്ച് ആൻസർ പറയണം, ഫ്രീസ് ആയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ ഉള്ളൂ, ഒത്തിരി സംസാരിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല, എല്ലാത്തിലും യെസ് പറഞ്ഞോണം, നോ പറയല്ലേ. നോ ഗൈസ്, ദാറ്റ്സ് എ വെരി റോങ് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി. Rather, you will not get marks in speaking. I'm a speaking examiner. Ask me, trust me, ask me. If you have any doubts on this particular part, I would be happy to give you an understanding. If I learned munne choikenda, ma'am personally WhatsApp audio ittittu choikananengilum, please, you're most welcome. So going forward, how many parts are there in listening? Oh, sorry, in speaking. There are 3 parts. The first part I have mentioned here. First part is about 4 to 5 minutes. What do they ask you? They ask you very general questions about what? Familiar topics such as home, family, work, studies, interests. Like I said, in other words, maybe about fishing, about the decorations in your house, about hotel stay that you made, about your cooking skills, about the music that you like, whether you like spending time playing games, whether you're a person who goes for walks. All those topics are covered in part 1. General questions on very familiar topics. When I say familiar topics, I would again notify you guys that uttiri, like stiff fight answer പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിള്ളേരെ മാർക്ക് പോകത്തേ ഉള്ളൂ, മാർക്ക് കിട്ടത്തില്ല. Remember that. So going on forward, what is part 2? Part 2 is for about 3 to 4 minutes. This is where you have a cue card. What is a cue card? It is basically a main question or a main, let's say, topic is given to you, and there are also sub questions to that particular topic. So I'll give you an example. Describe a time when you met an old friend. Describe a time when you met an old friend. ഇതാണ് ഈ topic question, main question. അതിന്റെ sub question 4 sub questions ഉണ്ടാവും കേട്ടോ, 3 അല്ല 2 അല്ല 4 sub questions ഉണ്ടാവും. That's the structure of IELTS. Okay, many websites you will see that they have mentioned only 3 questions. 3 questions ഒന്നും അല്ല, 4 questions ഉണ്ടാകും. For a cue card, 4 questions. That is the structure of this exam. So what is the main question? Describe a time that you met an old friend. The 4 sub questions would be, when was it? Where did you meet? How did you meet? Okay. And the last part is explain how did you feel. So 4 sub questions will be there. You have to describe this main questions, include these sub questions, and you have to talk for about 1 to 2 minutes. When I say 1 to 2 minutes, now many people would be like, "Appa ma'am, 1.5 minute കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്ക് നിർത്താവോ?" ഇല്ല. When the examiner prompts you to stop, when the examiner tells you, "Okay, Joji, you can stop talking. Okay, Begha, you can stop now." Until then, you guys keep talking. Remember, the timer is not on your side. The timer is with the examiner. So please keep this in mind regarding the speaking part. 1 second. Okay, so going forward, you have to speak for 2 minutes. When we say that, remember, the examiner is in charge of the timer. She will tell you when to start and when to stop. So don't worry about the timer. Your job is to speak. Like I said, she will tell you when to start. As soon as she tells you to start talking about the time that you met your old friend. Include all the sub questions that are given there. They are actually sub questions, or I would say clues, so that you can speak continuously for 2 minutes. So when you talk about all those points one by one, you will actually cover these 2 minutes. Further on, when I come to speaking, I will tell you how to, make sure that you are talking for 2 minutes. There are some tips that I would like to give you for this part. So we'll do that in detail when we discuss speaking. So coming on next, speaking part 3. Again, just like part 1 speaking, part 3 is for 4 to 5 minutes. Part 1 It was on familiar topics like home, work, hometown, about your study, about your hobbies, about your family, all those things. You have to give very short answers in part 1. In part 3, it is more like a discussion. So your answers have to be discussive. Your answers have to be long. Your answers have to, talk about the advantages as well as disadvantages. You have to talk about the negatives as well as the positives. You have to give examples. Yes, you should give examples. Can you talk about your opinion? Yes, you can talk about your opinion also. Remember, what are we doing here? Part 3, we are discussing. So ചെറുതായിട്ട് 2 ലൈൻ ആയിട്ട് ആൻസർ പറഞ്ഞു നിർത്തല്ലേ. റിമെമ്പർ, ഇന്റർവ്യൂ അല്ല ഇത്. യു ഹാവ് ടു ബി ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് മോഡ്. ഗസ്റ്റ് വീട്ടിൽ വന്നിട്ട് ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ ഡൈനിങ് ടേബിളിൽ ഭക്ഷണമൊക്കെ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വർത്തമാനം പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ആ ഒരു സ്റ്റൈലിലോട്ട് വന്നേക്കണം പാർട്ട് 3. അപ്പം അത്രയും സംസാരിക്കാം, നമുക്ക് അത്രയും ഓപ്പൺലി സംസാരിക്കാം in part 3. So you should be discursive. I have written here the way we provide pointers in a discussion. Do not stop yourself in 1 or 2 lines. Talk in a very, very open manner. Talk about all the perspectives that you have. You want to give examples, talk about that. You want to talk about your ideas, talk about that. Remember, the examiner will also not be like, okay, she won't be like that. She will also be very discussive. That's the way part 3 is. Now, many of you who have given the test would be actually thinking that, okay, there are some errors when I have given my speaking test. Maybe I didn't speak too much in part 3. അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും എനിക്ക് 6 മാത്രം കിട്ടിയത്. അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും എനിക്ക് 5.5 മാത്രം കിട്ടിയത്. Please remember, yes, if you don't know the structure of an IELTS exam, there are some very basic errors that you will always make. That's why I have given this overview about writing and speaking in a little more detail. So going forward, I would like to take up the rest in the sections to come. I wouldn't disturb you guys here, and in the meantime, I've got all of you guys to do me a small favor. If you come on to the website, that is asklearning.in. Now I have actually posted that in the morning. One second. Let me, yes, this I'm reposting this link again. Can I just copy it? Yes. Yeah. So I'm just giving you this link again. I'm posting this link again in the group. Guys, you are all in the group now. Please go to this particular link that I have given. You will reach this page. IELTS Speaking Topics, May to August. This is actually a PDF document. It has got all the tentative questions students have faced. I also update a lot of questions. You have to follow our YouTube page for it, wherein all the latest updates for all the latest cue cards are given. The YouTube channel is also the same, asklearning.in. You will find a lot of answers that I post. Apart from that, if you have some time, if you go to this tab, IELTS Speaking, under the menu, you have these tabs: Home, Free IELTS Materials. If you go here, IELTS Speaking, IELTS Writing, you will see all these samples. You can see a lot of material that you can go through. Please take out some time and go through these so that you get an idea of what are you going to attempt. So I would like all of you to click the link, come to this page, and put in your name and email. Once you mark the captcha, you can just click here, subscribe, and send the PDF. You will receive that on your email. That PDF, make sure you download it and you keep a copy of it. Apart from that, there is one more document that I want you guys to do. Again, please go to Free IELTS Materials. There is a particular 1, 2, 3, 4. After IELTS reading, as you guys can see, grammar and vocabulary. Click here. I've just clicked it. Okay, so this is grammar and vocabulary for IELTS. As soon as you load this page, as soon as you load this page, you can see something here, vocabulary for IELTS PDF. I hope everyone can see this, advanced vocabulary for IELTS. This is actually, again, another resource that I would like all of you to have. Please put your name and your email. You will have marked the reCAPTCHA and you will have the document in your inbox. I would like all of you to download these. On Monday, I will also be giving you some work that you have to do from vocabulary. I'll be starting with it. So make sure that tomorrow being the weekend, you spend some time downloading both these materials. One is the speaking list and one is the vocabulary PDF. Anyone has any doubts, just ping me, I'll help you out. Okay? Sure? Yes, no?
No.
Okay, okay. So in case you have any doubts, okay, if you're not able to figure it out, ma'am, vocabulary kittila, message I'll help you out. Okay, if you want, I can put this link as well in the group so that you guys are not searching for anything. Here we go. So both these links, May to August topics and grammar and vocabulary. Once you click here, you will come on to this page. As soon as this page is loaded, you will find this on the side. Please download this copy. So I hope for the weekend, you guys can do this much. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So guys, that's all about the overview that I wanted to give for all the 4 sections. I will be starting with listening on Monday. And remember, the section only, the class only starts by 6:45, 6:50. I know that many of you take some time to join. So I'll be waiting until that time. So make sure that by 6:50 at least, we are able to start the evening class. Okay. So that's about it, guys. That's about it. Any doubts on what we have discussed? Anything anyone wants to ask?
I have one doubt. Angel, how many days actually would take to complete all these tests?
The sections, is it?
Not sections. I'm asking the IELTS exam.
IELTS exam. IELTS exam in India, it is basically for split in 2 days. Okay, Sudesh. So the exam date that you book, it is basically the booking that you make is for LRW, that is listening, reading, and writing. Speaking, പൊതുവായിട്ട് വേറെ ഒരു ദിവസമാണ് അതിന്റെ notification നമുക്ക് കിട്ടും. Okay, it could be let's say I would say നമ്മുടെ LRW exam date inde or maybe plus and minus 4 days. That is where speaking comes mostly. Okay. Okay. Chalo. Anything else, my dear? Megha, anything else? Mane, you want to ask? Joji, anything? Sarita, anything? Ramya, anything? Yeah, you guys have not understood? Great. Vishnu ji, if you have not understood anything, please, you can voice out and ask me right now. Okay, great. So, guys, if you have any doubts in downloading this and taking up the material, the PDF, let me know. I'll help you out. You can just ping me personally. I'm personally connected to all of you on WhatsApp. So let's do that and let's meet on Monday. Okay, 6:30. I will send the link. By 6:45, 6:50, I would like all of you to join. All right. So that's about it for today. We can close for today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.